Hi, my late movie last night was Scream and Scream Again, a 1970 film from the producers of some of the Amicus anthology movies of the 60s and 70s, Milton Subotsky and Max Rosenberg. It was ostensibly a horror movie, but it's not. it's it's a very strange film to the extent that I'm not sure whether or not it's any good. I'm pretty sure it's not great. We have several major horror icons top billed. We have Vincent Price, Christopher Lee, Peter Cushing. Price has a supporting role. Cushing has a sorry, Lee has a small role. Cushing has a cameo, and I don't think is in more than one shot. A single scene executed in a single shot to make most economic use of Peter Cushing's time. And the plot has three strands at the beginning of the film. The first, just thinking about the film and how it all ties together, is so insane. The first is that a murder has taken place. A young woman has been horribly murdered, and all her blood has been drained, and the police are investigating. And the audience is privy to the idea that we know who has committed this particular sort of unusual-looking young man, played by Michael Gothard, who played the glasses-wearing henchman in the James Bond film For Your Eyes Only. The other plot thread is about an Eastern European secret police officer who is killing people who disagree with him by grabbing their shoulder and then holding very tightly. The other plot thread is about a jogger who we see in the title sequence running all over a common in South London, who suddenly collapses. He wakes up apparently in hospital, but discovers that his leg has been amputated. We see him again later on in the movie. He wakes up, he goes through the same motions of being administered to by a nurse, lifts back the covers and finds that his other leg's been amputated. The punchline is where the nurse comes to look at him and he's mostly unresponsive, and she pulls back the blanket, and both his arms are gone as well. And by the end of the movie, he's just a severed head. The murder victim is. I'm so sorry. This is not professional. The murder victim was the lab assistant to Vincent Price's scientist who's developing something that isn't particularly explained at the time. But when the police get a handle on the murderer, they chase him cross country in a chase sequence that is quite. I mean, it's well executed. There's a scene where there's a car herring around the corner, and it comes. I think it probably destroys the camera because as it's squealing around the corner, the rear corner of the car, I think, strikes the camera and annihilates it. But we cut away so fast. It's really thrilling to watch. But I recognised all the streets because they've appeared in other Amicus movies. They they chase him to the outhouses of Vincent Price's estate, where where the killer finds a big vat of acid and jumps in. And a police officer then tries to reach inside to grab him and goes, ah! Because, of course, you would immediately put your hand in any huge tank of chemicals, regardless of what sinister colour it was. And there's also stuff going on in Eastern Europe with this mysterious character. And the whole thing winds up tying together in a bizarre, barely coherent idea of a race of super beings being created, Frankenstein style, with organs and limbs harvested from all over the place, and they're superhumans. And the police officer who is investigating the murder for the whole movie and is basically the main character is killed off three-quarters of the way through. So the guy who's helping him is now the hero. As though the actor, Alfred Marks, had to go off to another engagement, so he passed the baton of the script on to the nearest other actor. It's full of great ideas. It's full of interesting stuff, but it feels like it's been cut down from like a 4-hour TV series into this very tight, barely coherent 90-minute film. It's not good, but it's not that bad. It's odd and interesting. Cushing is good in his little scene. Christopher Lee comes in when the film's already 2/3 of the way through as a government official who's also involved with this in some way. Price is good and is his genial self. Alfred Marks, the police officer, is nicely grounded and real. Um, it's I, I can only recommend it. I can't tell you if it's any good. You just have to see for yourself.